Hello and welcome to India Sense. I'm Gaurie Dwivedi. This week, the top story on the show, the India-Russia summit, the big takeaways, the optics, the larger messaging and India's strategic autonomy on full display for the world to see. We get you that, but first up, the headlines. India rolls out the red carpet for Russian president for the 23rd India-Russia summit. Vladimir Putin accorded a 21-gun salute as both sides elevate their long-standing ties. Yet another blow for H-1B visa seekers. Trump administration orders enhanced vetting for applicants. Officers asked to review resumes and LinkedIn profiles before work transcripts. Jailed former Pakistan Prime Minister Imran Khan slams Army Chief Asim Munir on the very day the latter was formally appointed as the country's first Chief of Defence Forces. Imran Khan versus Asim Munir set to escalate, Pakistan on edge. Apple appoints Bengaluru-born AI researcher Amar Subramanya as Vice President of Artificial Intelligence in a mega push towards AI. And iconic scenes unfurl in UK's Leicester as Shah Rukh Khan and Kajol unveil Raj and Simran statues after the duo mark 30 years of their iconic film DDLJ. Viewers, our top story this week on the show. It's a visit like none other, because it's a partnership like none other. One of the most consequential relationships of India is with Russia. Most nuanced, multi-layered, and one that offers many opportunities even as it's been time-tested on both sides. Russian President Vladimir Putin visited India for the 23rd Russia-India summit, and New Delhi rolled out the red carpet in full style. Prime Minister Modi broke protocol, received the president himself. From a 21-gun salute to the usual car selfies that are now fast becoming the new norm when Modi and Putin meet, this has been a historic visit. One that puts India's strategic autonomy on full display for the world to see. Now, there are three important aspects that need to be kept in mind, and then we are going to walk you through the big highlights of the visit and the big takeaways. But three important points need to be kept in mind. First and foremost, Russia and India have a relationship that spans defense, trade, fertilizer and oil. Those are some of the key aspects. Russia accounts for about 35% of India's oil right now. It accounts for 36% of India's defense equipment and purchases and 27% of India's fertilizers, which is why this partnership is so nuanced, multi-layered, and some of the agreements that have been made and the announcements that have been made tie into this relationship because of that. Now let's talk about big picture as well, and then we get you the pacts and the agreements that have been signed. First and foremost, India was the first place that Russian President Vladimir Putin came just 2 days after fresh push towards some sort of a peace formula when he met Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff. New Delhi was his first place to reach. And the first thing that Prime Minister Modi said when the summit level discussion started was just that this is a time of peace, this is not an era of war, and India supports that. Listen in.
एक्सेलेंसी पिछले दिनों विश्व समुदाय के सभी नेताओं से जब भी मेरी बात हुई है और उन्होंने जब विस्तार से मेरी चर्चा की, मैंने हमेशा कहा है कि भारत न्यूट्रल नहीं है, भारत का पक्ष है और वो पक्ष शांति का है। हम शांति के हर प्रयासों का समर्थन करते हैं और हम शांति के हर प्रयासों के साथ कंधे से कंधा मिलाकर के खड़े हैं।
In fact, President Putin also spoke about just that. He mentioned that the summit offers the opportunity to put forth and lay out the larger roadmap of peace with regard to Ukraine. Listen in to what the Russian president said.
Дружеский, в то же время с такой содержательной, очень полезной беседой. We had a friendly and at the same time a very substantial talk.
У нас была возможность, и дали мне такую возможность подробно рассказать о том, что происходит на как раз украинском направлении.
I could share a great deal of details about the events taking place in Ukraine.
И что нами предпринимается совместно с некоторыми другими партнерами, в том числе с Соединенными Штатами, по вопросу возможного мирного урегулирования этого кризиса.
And the actions we are taking together with some partners, including the United States, on a possible peaceful settlement.
Спасибо вам за это внимание и спасибо за ваши усилия, направленные на разрешение этой ситуации.
Thank you for the attention and for your efforts aimed at finding a solution to this situation.
Now, viewers, there are three things that need to be kept in mind. The messaging that came out from here. Donald Trump needs to understand this. When India says there is a strategic autonomy that defines its foreign policy, it means every word of it. And Prime Minister Modi walked the talk. Yes, there is a trade pact with the US that we are looking to negotiate. Yes, Donald Trump wants us to buy less oil from Russia because he wants us to buy more oil from America. But that doesn't mean that we will jettison our energy policy and energy security for what Donald Trump says. And that is the single biggest message that came out from here. Last and equally important is the fact that this is a visit that everybody in every global capital, from Washington DC to Kiev to Brussels to Beijing, all watched with bated breath. It's a message for China as well, something that both Vladimir Putin and Prime Minister Modi were looking to give. And that message has been well received. First wide angle story on the show this week, Trump administration's latest move, which is yet another effort to block H-1B visas and block those who are most deserving. And yet again, it's actually being done in a manner that is almost symptomatic of Trump 2.0, creating nationalist barriers, all while pushing pro-business rhetoric. Now, what has happened is, after hiking fees, increasing scrutiny, there's yet another layer of uncertainty that is being added. And this time around, LinkedIn accounts of candidates are being screened. Ostensibly, candidates' profiles will be screened and vetted for those, and red flags will be raised for those whom they find have curbed freedom of speech. And anyone or their families found to be curbing the same will not get an H-1B visa. Now, this is the exact same rhetoric that Donald Trump and his administration had pushed against European governments and against big tech by saying that conservative voices are being suppressed, and they want to do the same thing when it comes to H-1B as well. Now, interestingly, viewers, it was the big tech CEOs who were actually most keen to have what they thought was a pro-business American president. And ironically, the latest directive for H-1B candidates and the screening process is going to hit tech companies the most, simply because this is where the pipeline will actually shrink and will have an impact on their talent pool as well. For India, of course, it's going to be extremely significant. 70% of H-1B visas come for Indians, and this kind of additional screening, which too much of discretionary powers being handed out to superiors, will lead to Indians being impacted as well. And in fact, 70% H-1Bs from India will be impacted. Now, US technology is dependent on H-1B pipeline, simply because the STEM talent pipeline at home is something that is shrinking, and this may backfire in the long run because tech companies are likely to raise this as a red flag going forward. But in the short run, this is something that will hit those wanting to go to the US on H-1B visas even more. Let's get in Rohit Sharma, who's an immigration expert, for a quick update on how much of an impact this will be. Now, Rohit, there have already been multiple efforts by the Trump administration in the past, repeated screening, additional provisions being added, fees being increased. But this level of scrutiny that they're adding just makes H-1B visas much, much tougher than what it is right now.
Yeah, to start with, as far as the intent is to suppress the voices against anything that America is doing, then we can question this very move. But as far as the intent is to ensure that the legal compliances are followed and the fraud is not happening. So what I believe is that as regard this new directive and the discretionary power that is given to the visa officer, I would like to believe that it is more on the line that they want foreign workers, surely, but they don't want fraud. They want talent, but they don't want trouble. So, but yes, as regard
getting, is who defines that? Who defines that? Because that is where the real problem is. Too much of discretionary power to those who will be vetting these applications means it is their personal decision and discretion that will actually apply, no standardization.
That is what I said, that as far as the intent is to just suppress voices. So difficult to make a comment right now that, whether this intent is there. Yes, too much of discretionary power given to anyone actually will lead to judgments, which again cannot be challenged. So what happens, with these kind of announcements, as an applicant, you start thinking whether you should apply or not, or you start fearing refusal more than anything else. And getting into someone's LinkedIn is almost getting into someone's life. Like they are talking about not only of the applicant, but even if any of the family member is making any comment or anything is there, then again
So
that
earlier this was being done for student visas, because there were these
Yes.
massive protests that took place at university campuses last year, and that Trump administration said was the reason why student visas need to be vetted greatly. But when you talk about professional visas like H-1B, this kind of screening doesn't take place ideally. So isn't this just too much of scrutiny and vetting that is taking place in the garb of protecting freedom of speech? Trump administration is doing everything it can to ensure it doesn't give visas.
Yeah, that is there. But at the same time, Trump administration, I'm sure, is knowing it very well that 70 to 75% of H-1B visas across the world happens to India itself, right? And then Amazon, Google, Microsoft, these are the companies that are depending on this talent only. So it is good for companies, that are shell companies or the people who are applying, through legal and illegal routes just to enter US. But overall, with this kind of,
But Rohit, how
strategy
many
with the
such
plan-
candidates would actually have shell companies?
True,
Most of them
true.
want to be part of the larger tech ecosystem in the US, which is most lucrative, and the Indian talent is the best fit for that
Yes.
global tech ecosystem.
Yes, absolutely. That is what I'm saying. So they should be rather mindful of these strategies at their end, because if they are coming up with these kind of news every second day, what they are doing is
All
they are
right.
shifting the talent of India to some other countries, and also not the talent that India is possessing that is actually acquiring space in US. The US companies, in fact, have
Okay.
started looking for alternate destinations across the world.
All
So
right.
it is not a very happy situation for Trump administration just come up and announce something like that.
No. The Trump administration needs to worry about bigger problems, and this is going to lead to that bigger problem, which is when the same
Yeah.
tech CEOs who were batting for him just 9 months back are going to come and say, where is my tech pipeline? You've completely dried it up because of these lopsided policies. I'm going to leave it there. Rohit Sharma joining us for that quick check of how this looks like as far as the immigration landscape in the US is concerned. Turning attention now to, in the great global bazaar of weapons, India is the customer everyone wants. The world's largest purchaser of weapons. Well, you have the US and Russia, the two biggest dealers on the block. Let's not forget there's France as well. All of them competing with each other to offer the best possible deal to India. Now let's talk about US and Russia. One offers discounts and co-production like a friendly shopkeeper. The other is actually playing hardball, cranks up tariffs and still brings out its shiny flagship, which is the F-35, like the best possible option. Now imagine haggling in a market where both sellers need you more than you need them. Yes, that's the situation for India because, as I said, one of the largest importer of defense equipment also gives India that leverage to be able to get the best bargain out in the market. And this report tells you exactly what is happening with India now having the best possible deal and ensuring that US and Russia compete with each other for the defense purchases. Take a look.
Imagine this, you're walking into a bustling marketplace. On one side, Russia, the old familiar dealer. It waves you in with a special discount just for you. Throws in tech transfer, joint production, and even the promise of S-500s and Su-57s. On the other side stands America, arms folded, chin up, offering the F-35, the world's most coveted stealth fighter, but demanding tariffs, leverage and concessions. And today New Delhi has made another sharp, calculated move, signing a nearly 8,000 crore sustainment deal with the US build MH-60R Seahawk helicopters. Why? Because increasing readiness, reducing downtime, and building maintenance in India's strengths, the Navy. All this without tying New Delhi to any one supplier's apron strings. But watch the backdrop here. Russia's Vladimir Putin arrives in Delhi with warmth, discounts, and a wish list, eager to keep India buying oil and fighter jets as sanctions bite. Trump, meanwhile, turns the dial between pressure and persuasion, penalizes India with tariffs one week, offers F-35s the next. India reads both sides like an open book. This is strategic autonomy version 2.0. New Delhi is choosing its interests over any side. Because in the world's most high-stakes arms marketplace, India is fast becoming the trendsetter.
On India Sense, we now turn attention to Pakistan, which is now a tinderbox. It has been so since Zia-ul-Haq turned it into a nation of bigots, reduced its professional army to one that conducts jihad. But Asim Munir has made it even more volatile. Now he's officially the first Chief of Defence Forces of Pakistan. He's above everything in the country, the law, the constitution, the courts, everything. But even he is not above the political sentiment in Punjab, which is the main catchment area of the army, its main support base. In fact, the legitimacy, the power, the recruitment of the army are deeply linked to the sentiment and the political sentiment in Punjab. And that is something that even Imran Khan is acutely aware of. Now, he's a Pashtun, but born in Punjab, has a massive fan following. And the rumors of his death, when they spread fast, it created probably the biggest volatility that Pakistan has seen in a really long time, and something that Asim Munir cannot afford to have. Now, here is how it's likely to play out from here on, viewers. Asim Munir has entrusted himself the biggest crown possible in Pakistan, but what he doesn't have answers to is the following. Asim Munir and Imran Khan have no love loss, but Munir knows that Imran Khan's death and his subsequent martyrdom will bring down his empire. Absolutely, completely decimate Asim Munir. And Imran Khan also knows this. And he also understands that if at some point of time, when he comes out, which he will, because now look at the kind of public outcry that has come in support of him. At some point of time, he will come out. He will challenge Munir's Teflon-coated status. And that is where this volatility, this uncertainty is likely to peak out. Either way, the uncertainty in Pakistan will worsen. And what will happen then for the Field Marshal of Pakistan? Well, the prospect of Munir using war and terror as a tool to tighten his grip over the people of Pakistan becomes almost a reality, something that India will have to brace for sooner than later. Because look at how fast the things have changed in Pakistan. Keeping that in mind, the next couple of weeks and months is when you could see Asim Munir resorting to the same old usual terror playbook. And that is when things will become more volatile. All right, on that note, a quick break. We return with more on the other side. Stay with us. Viewers, this is your India Ascent story. The one that we get every week that tells you the rise of India. This week, well, Apple is making one of its most decisive moves in the AI race. And who are they entrusting the responsibility with? Someone who has shaped the field from the inside out. Amar Subramania, the Bengaluru-born AI researcher with a resume that reads like the tech world's greatest hits. He has been appointed Apple's new vice president of AI. It's a remarkable shift for a man who once powered Google's Gemini and Microsoft's Copilot and is now being entrusted by Apple. As I said, your typical absolute India Ascent story. Now, Amar Subramania is stepping in as Apple's next big ally in its fight to catch up. Subramania takes over from John, who retires in 2026 after steering Apple through the early phase of AI. But now it needs a leader who spent 20 years building, scaling, shipping AI systems that sit at the heart of the products being used by billions. Apple says Subramania will oversee foundation models, machine learning, research, and AI safety, the very engine room of its future devices. At Google, he rose from research scientist to vice president of engineering, helping drive Gemini's development and working closely with DeepMind. At Microsoft, he shaped the foundation models behind Copilot. And before all that, he earned a PhD from the University of Washington studying semi-supervised learning. For Apple, this hire is a statement. The company has been criticized for lagging behind in generative AI while rivals sprinted ahead. Well, they've got an Indian to ensure that the next phase is when they leap ahead. Subramania coming on board ensures that Apple is signaling it's ready to pick up the pace while still sticking to its core promise of privacy. In short, Amar Subramania needs to take the next big leap for Apple, where it wants to leave its rivals behind. London is having a super Bollywood moment with a bronze statue of Shah Rukh Khan and Kajol unveiled at the iconic Leicester Square as part of the 30-year celebrations of DDLJ. A bronze statue of Shah Rukh Khan and Kajol as their characters, Raj and Simran, installed at Leicester Square in London. Radhika Iyer brings you this report that tells you why that iconic movie still resonates 30 years after its release.
Why have you come here to see the film? And does that mean the world to you? Yeah. It's been like, I think I've waited like over 20 years. I'm not excited.
I feel what we do is different. I think the rage, the love, and the passion will be the same. That's what I think.
So I was born and raised in London, but my cultural identity has always been a huge part of who I am, and I think Bollywood has always been such a big part of that.
Same with me. Like I've grown up watching Bollywood films. I love Bollywood music. Like it's like so like everything. Yeah.
It was an unforgettable moment for Indian cinema, with London's Leicester Square now welcoming for the first time an Indian moment or a Bollywood moment in the square, which has some greats from across the world. That is a bronze statue of Shah Rukh Khan and Kajol, and that is a celebration of Dilwale Dulhania Le Jayenge, which we know has been a timeless love story, loved across the globe, now standing as a bronze statue right in the middle of London. The statue unveiled by Raj and Simran themselves.
That's your perfect India Sense moment to wrap this show. Thanks so much for watching. I come back next week with more stories about India's rise, its growth. Stay tuned.